With the last episode of The Acolyte coming out, it's very clear how this is all going to end. All the signs are pointing towards one conclusion. There are three groups left: Sol and May,
You saved us.
Qimir and Osha,
Turn it on.
and lastly, Vernesta Rowe and her team. I want to focus on two of these groups, where there's tension and disagreement which could potentially end in conflict. Episode 6, the episode before the flashback on Brendok, was an attempt to show the duality of both of these characters, Master Sol and Qimir, and change how the viewers and also the twins perceived these two masters. Master Sol, the paragon of light so far in the show, is slowly beginning to crack all that compassion and kindness that he's wielded so far. These are carefully crafted scenes designed to endear him to the audience, but at the root of every compassionate person is an empathy, which itself is rooted in sensitivity. A sensitive person is an individual who can have their emotions easily triggered, and when those qualities are found in a Jedi peacekeeper armed with a sword, that can be quite a dangerous combination. In the same way you want a police officer to be cool, calm, and collected, you want a Jedi to have those similar character traits, like Jedi Master Indara, for instance.
We must escort you.
It's too risky to go in as a group. They'll take it as a threat.
There are over 50 of them.
50 women. And only 2 children.
The flip side of Master Sol's compassion is his quickness towards anger and rage, which we see after his Padawan and colleague are slaughtered by Qimir. And because Master Sol is a sensitive person, he often uses compassion and kindness in an effort to control his surroundings and de-escalate situations. But because he has a low tolerance for conflict, he is oftentimes driven by his emotion to solve problems, and he doesn't thoroughly think through his actions, like when he gives a child a dangerous weapon.
Sol, no.
His desire to bring Osha away from her witch coven is completely driven by emotion. He also has not clearly thought out the consequences of such an action.
I feel a connection to Osha.
Osha's too old to join the order.
I feel she's meant to be my Padawan.
Her coven will never let her leave.
I believe she wants to live with us.
Do not confuse what Osha wants with what you want.
We see that Master Sol often senses stress in others that actually is emanating from himself.
He was disturbed. Unbalanced.
You were disturbed. Do not confuse Torben's feelings with your own.
A lack of awareness of his own emotional excesses is another fatal flaw. And after the massacre on Kofar, we're starting to see him fall apart at the seams. Qimir is actually supposed to be the exact opposite of Master Sol. He's a vicious murderer. He's killed several Jedi in a whirlwind of destruction, which was fueled by the dark side. He's supposed to be driven completely by his emotions and rage, but when we think about who he is, and more importantly, when we see him interact with Osha, we begin to see another side of him. Qimir for years has trained Osha's sister May without revealing his identity. He spent at least weeks posing as a fixer for May. He plays the Joker and the Fool.
Started out gun running for the Hutts. Now I supply people like her with what they need for the right price.
Well, maybe you could supply us with the truth.
Who is he?
I thought he was with you.
Which we find out later is nothing like his real personality. The amount of control and discipline he wields over himself and his actions are worthy of some of the most stoic Jedi. As a matter of fact, he and Master Indara, when it comes to their emotional build, are not all that different. And it makes sense. Qimir has had to survive for God knows how long in the wild as a dark side force user in a galaxy where such things are completely illegal. And when Qimir talks to Osha and attempts to bring her on as an apprentice, he doesn't try to manipulate her necessarily. Instead, he talks to her in the most rational way possible.
Your anger betrays your thoughts.
Why bring me here? Why not kill me? Am I supposed to be your prisoner?
Prisoner. You're the one with the weapon.
He seeks to give her the things that she's always desired, but was never given by the Jedi.
I lost everything, Osha. But when you lose everything, That's when you're finally free.
The dark side has warm, nurturing soup. And although in the long run the dark side is associated with greed, selfishness, and terrible things, corruption, right now it's clear that Osha's own existence, her tortured path, was caused by greed, selfishness, and the lies of a group of Jedi, who ultimately meant well but carried out something terrible against both her and her family. This is a reminder that the dark side can come from everywhere, and what Qimir is simply offering her is the natural course of action for someone in her position. She, more than anyone, has a reason to go to the dark side after suffering so much. Some Star Wars fans are extremely angry in what they perceive as the moral grayness of this show, but the reality is the dark side is still bad here, and the light side is still good. But the point of the story is you cannot just blindly follow those who say they are from one side or another. We need to all open our eyes and be active critical thinkers. Approach each individual by how they act and not by which faction they belong to. This is not a perversion of morality. This actually enhances people's intelligence regarding what morality is. I think what happens in the finale is going to be quite simple. May, finally hearing the story of what happened that night on Brendok, will find some peace and finally be allowed to let go of her hate somewhat. She's also strapped to a table, so, May starts this story arc wanting to kill Jedi Master Soul, and now, if she has the ability to have empathy, if she's mature enough, then she'll make the same realization she did before the Kofar battle.
I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to kill a Jedi without a weapon. I don't need to keep this deal.
What? Cut me down!
You were wrong. Osha being alive changes everything. My loyalty is to Osha, not your master.
Ultimately, May is an extremely tragic figure. Her rage and anger has been used as a weapon, first by her own master Coral and then by Qimir, to do massive amounts of destruction. The fire on Brendok, the assassination of the Brendok 4 are not things that she wanted. Her rage and her anger all comes from one thing, and that's the rejection that her own sister Osha has given her all these years.
It isn't fair. I share everything with you, and you hide things from me or run off alone. I want to have my own things. I told him I wanted to be a Jedi because I do.
You don't mean that.
I do. I want my own life. I don't want to share it with May.
The only thing that can truly heal her and stop her from her destructive path is finding Osha. We have to remember that these two individuals were created from one consciousness, but for some reason only May has a strong desire to go back to Osha, and that most likely will be her doom. On the flip side, Osha is portrayed as a kind and nice individual, the complete opposite to May, but the truth is, they're not all that different. In that first scene, it's May who we focus on because she controls the butterflies with the Force. It's a dark side activity, but we forget that Osha also briefly controls the butterfly as well. She just stops prematurely. She has more awareness. She has more control. You see, Osha and May are both full of passion. It's just that Osha has adopted a belief in the Jedi Order, a sense of control over herself, and she's willing to control herself in order to pursue this adventure to the wider world. Osha believes that the Jedi can fix everything in her life. She is ideological at heart because of this, so much so that when the Jedi destroy her home, take her away from her family, and then just kick her out of the Order, she still believes in them. She is extreme.
So you'd rather leave your fate to the Jedi?
Yes. I have faith in the Jedi.
Enjoy prison.
Her love in the Jedi has been misplaced, and all along she's been cruel to her family, to the people who care for her, and no one cares more about her than May, and she causes her sister great pain by rejecting her. The last time we see Osha, we find her putting on Qimir's Cortosis helmet, which not only blocks out lightsaber attacks and Force probes, it also serves as a sensory deprivation tank.
I know from the isolation tank, that it's a great way of absorbing magnesium.
This allows Osha to finally embrace the side of her that she's been running from and suppressing her entire life. I believe that when Master Soul, May, and Qimir and Osha meet, it is Osha who will go towards the dark side. She will attempt to kill Master Soul. She will be corrupted by Qimir, and have finally seen that it was the Jedi who betrayed her all this time. But May, in her love for Osha, will intercept the blade, and in doing so, she'll finally be with her sister once again. I believe that if one of the sisters die, maybe both of them die. This could be their connection to the Force or something like that. I also think Master Soul and Qimir are probably destined to kill each other. I think Master Soul at this point has to die because of his actions. I think all 4 of the Brendok Jedi, although well-meaning in their own ways, were guilty of something atrocious, and because of that they will die. Vernesta Rowe will eventually come with her Jedi bureaucrats, and they will find a scene, a very destructive scene, and they'll try to further cover up what happened here, so that the news of this incident doesn't spread out to the wider galaxy. Anyway, let me know in the comment section below what you think about my theory. I am very excited to see if it turns out right or not, but yeah, I guess I'll see you after the show airs.